there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. That's what it used to look like. We're digital now, but that's what it used to look like in print form. Got JL all over my cover. There's Mr. Chris from Mammoth down in Louisiana. Got Tim Holton. Got the chicken guy over my cover, JLL. Have coming up a really cool grocery store out of the Northwest, an Asian retail chain, and the stores are beautiful. And anyway, got our project management report and a bunch of other stuff. So that issue is going to post right after Labor Day weekend. So getting ready to get into production mode and get that magazine done. We're like a construction project. We have all these things, we put them together, jig them, we build it, and then boom, we kind of put it out there and turn the keys over to all the subscribers. So, we're kind of in that same kind of mold. But anyway, it's August, got a couple weeks left. The lake's still full, which is great. And looks like we're going to get some rain for the next 5 days. So they'll be letting out some water for all the farmers downstream. But anyway, it's been a really, really hot and humid summer. And school's back in, got SEC football coming into play. Bulldogs #1 champions last year. They got to repeat, and everybody's gunning for them. So I don't know when the first game's coming up, but I know that I'm getting the clips and so forth, and they're loaded. So it should be interesting to see if they can pull off another another run. Sports are like anything else. You got to stay healthy, So, but right now, I'm a hockey guy. So we got the World Juniors U18s going on, and we got a couple of University of Denver players on that team, and I don't think they've lost anybody yet. So that tournament's going into the medal round here coming up. I know they won last night, I think 7-1. I don't know if it was the Swiss or someone. I don't know. Uniforms were right. They crushed them, and we've had the Steve Pios that are out there on that team. They're kicking tail. They're scoring goals and making the University of Denver look good. So go Team USA, and the women are playing too. They just took it on the chin from Canada 4-0. So, but can't win them all. It's just the way it goes. You learn from your mistakes and you move on and you try to revamp and retool and see what you can do. But, what happened was, they called off, with COVID and stuff. And, last year, the World Juniors are normally, over New Year's, but they canceled the tournament after one game and they rescheduled it here for the summer. So hopefully they'll get it back in here. For the New Year's, I always watch it, over the New Year's holidays and stuff. So, but that's why they're playing hockey during the summer. It's crazy, hockey in the summer. But anyway, listen, hockey's going to start up anyway. I think the NHL season starts in October 1. So, it's just like Stanley Cup just finished, and now, boom, they're here. So anyway, hope everybody's doing great out there. If you're still out there working, make sure you're drinking, staying hydrated, drink lots of water, and most of all, stay safe. So with that said, today, I'm talking to a gentleman out of one of my favorite cities. I know you know what it is, Denver, Colorado. I'm sitting here with Mr. Troy Shaffer. He's Vice President of Strategic Operations with Travelers Haven. And they provide lodging for crews that are nomadic crews that are going around the country and getting things done. So Troy, say hello to our Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans out there from Denver.
Hello, everybody from Denver. Dave, looking forward to the conversation. And happy to be on today.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, gotta say congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche. It was an amazing thing, and the Colorado Mammoth, the indoor lacrosse team, won the indoor gig as well. And looks like the Donkeys are coming up. They got Russell Williams. They just had some new ownership changes, and they could be a force to be reckoned with. And listen, if anybody's never been to a football game in Mile High Stadium, used to be called, well, it was Mile High, then it was Sports Authority. I'm not sure what they call it these days.
Yeah, we don't know either.
But anyway, I still think it was Mile High. They got the pony out front. And anyway, if you've never been to a football, it's like an SEC game. If you ever gone to an SEC game down here in the South, I'm a Yankee living in the South. So, football is not like it is, it's lacrosse hockey up north. Down here, SEC's king. So if you never gone to a football game in the SEC, it's like nothing you've ever imagined. You go to a Denver Bronco game, it is unbelievable. Orange, blue. You got the guy in the can who's naked. It's just a scene. And anyway, and they have the new stadium, and it's amazing. So if you ever get the chance, even if you hate the Broncos, go have fun, and you'll thoroughly enjoy yourself. But Denver's had a good run. The Nuggets, they got knocked out of the playoffs. So, and the Rockies, they're playing right now. Who knows? Where everybody's going to end up. But it's been a really good year. And DU Pioneers won the national championship once again. So they've had 3 championships this year. Denver's rolling. They've been partying, Mammoth, Pios, and it's just it's just amazing. So it really is been a wild season for them. So in any event, Troy, the way this works, you got to tell your story, where you grew up, got any kids, what sports, blah, blah, blah. And then, how you ended up at Travelers Haven. And then we'll talk about, the last 24 months of the roller coaster and lessons learned. And then we'll finish up with a positive thought or phrase and go from there. So Troy, with that said, the floor is yours.
All right. Yeah, thanks again, Dave. So yeah, quick story background on myself. Grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is a mid-sized town, northeast Indiana, kind of lodged in between Indianapolis, Chicago, and Detroit. Grew up 2 siblings, fortunate enough to have a great upbringing. Dad worked in engineering for the Department of Transportation for 40 plus years. One of those guys that first job out of college and last job. So it was cool to see that. And then my mom, various roles in healthcare, but as I mentioned, fortunate to have a great upbringing, and really what that meant usually was the opportunity for me to play a ton of sports. So all these comments are ringing true with me, but big basketball, baseball, football guy until, of course, everybody started out.
Oh, you're in Indiana. You're in Indiana.
Yeah, I got to be able to shoot. Yeah,
you got to be a b-ball player. Come on.
Well, interesting fact. My dad, Ben Schaefer, still to this day, he was there in the 60s, still holds the free throw record percentage for a season at his college, small college, Indiana Tech in Fort Wayne. But yeah,
wow,
he had me shooting them early for sure.
How many free throws did he make in a row?
Oh gosh, I should know that number. I'm sure it's in the hundreds, but yeah, the man could shoot for sure.
Hey, that's awesome! Wow.
Yeah. So everybody started outgrowing me, so I had to transition, and I started getting into golf, and got into that through high school. Played in high school, and fast forward today, still an avid golfer. So that's one that stuck with me. But grew up 18 years, same house. Ended up going to Indiana University. So I don't know if we should get into the Big Ten SEC conversation. That could go down a bad path, but go Hoosiers. At Indiana, I studied marketing and management. Had a minor in finance, and after school, as much as I loved growing up in Indiana, wanted something else, wanted to experience something else. So moved out to Phoenix, the Scottsdale area, and was there for a couple years, worked in mortgages. And my girlfriend at the time, wife now, we were there for a couple years, and we kind of looked at each other and said, hey, do we want to be here long term? And the answer was no. And I remember this vividly. We were in our apartment. We both went to separate corners of the room, right, and said, all right, let's write down the top 5 cities we would want to move to, right? No kids, young. And we both ended up writing Denver down as number 1. So
nice.
A couple months later, I found myself packing up the U-Haul and, making that trek, that 16-hour trek from Denver, or Phoenix up to Denver. And that's where I've been the last 13 and a half years. So when I moved to Denver, I was introduced to our owner, Eli Wallen, and the company Travelers Haven. And that's where I made my connection with them and was introduced to this corporate housing and lodging world, as you mentioned. So I've been fortunate enough to be with the company for 13 and a half years now. I started as the title was account management and sales. I think at that time we had four of us, so it was many hats, or frankly just kind of get it done. Um, but for the first 8 years with the company, grew the business via the sales side in various different roles. And for the last 5 years, I transitioned, as you mentioned, over to the support and operation and leadership team. So the last 5 years, I've various different roles, but currently overseeing the support and logistics team, or as I like to say, where like the actual product of housing on demand comes to life, and as well just pushing any sort of initiatives and projects forward for the company.
Free throws and swinging golf clubs and sales have one thing in common: consistency. Practice makes perfect. So,
Yeah,
the more free throws you shoot, the more times you swing correctly, and the more calls that you make and the more no's that you get means, the more yeses you're going to get. I'm a sales guy, so I can say that.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
believe it or not, all these little things that, you did, free throws and golf, definitely probably, helped you, as you went into that sales role, in the beginning out there. And now here you are, made your way up to the corporate ladder, and,
yeah,
you in the business and stuff. So, listen, I always kind of put sports with business, and,
yeah. I like it.
it's, like a lacrosse guy, parents like, well, how can my son get better at lacrosse? And, or hockey, like when I grew up, I went to hockey school up in Canada every summer for a month. I used to go to a place called the Hockey Ranch, 4 hours of horseback, because we had horses when I grew up outside of Philly, and stables, and then 4 hours of hockey. And went up there every summer. And I think people tell me I was born in the wrong country. Hockey, lacrosse player. What am I doing in the U.S.? So, but anyway, it's one of those things. And so those kind of gigs that you learn through sports that you can apply to business, it's a really nice transition, because nothing against the people that don't play sports out there. I'm just saying that sports can teach you a lot of things that you can apply, because business is a very tough gig. And golf is a mental thing, because it's really just you. And then free throws, it's really you against the basket.
Yeah,
But getting back to lacrosse, I used to tell parents, because when I was coaching here locally, how can my son get better at throwing? I said, well, look, he can run. I don't have to teach him how to run and all that. That's just endurance. But you just call wall ball. Throw him 200 times with every hand. Same thing. Hey, go shoot 300 hoops. I remember when my
yeah,
son was going through lacrosse, and he'd be like, hey, Dad, let's go out and throw. I'm like, have you thrown 200 times with each hand? No. I'm like, go hit the pitch back, and when you do that, then you can throw with me. But until then, don't come to me.
yeah,
So, but
yeah,
wall ball is what I tell them. I'm like, hey, don't find a concrete ball and just go throw the ball.
yeah.
Same thing with skating. Skate. Go put some rollerblades on and go skate. Okay, and so practice makes perfect. It's just,
Makes perfect. Yeah,
and
yeah.
you
Couldn't ring true. Like I was just having my same conversation with my son, and he's starting to get into golf
how
too.
old's he?
He's 10, so he's starting to get into it, and he's starting to do some competitive stuff, and he's out there, and he's like, Dad, why, like, how does that kid hit it that far? How does he put it that straight? I'm like, to your point, practice. Like, you want it, you got to go out and get it, and that's what sports does, I think. As a youth or as a young adult, like it teaches you some valuable lessons for the rest of your life. Practice, repetition, teamwork, right? Like you get into the business where like how important are the people and teamwork? Like those are fundamental values that are taught, and regardless, to your point, what sport, if it is a team, individual, whether it's you against the competition, you against yourself, it's some valuable lessons for sure.
Listen, sports, it's a battle, and you got to be thick skinned. You're going to go against bigger players, people that are dirty, the chippy, whatever. And so if you go out in the business world, you better have thick skin, because
Yeah,
it's a vicious place. Not, I mean, you're going to get all sorts of reactions from people. So I just tell my son all the time, like, hey man, if you can't handle it now, just wait until you get out in the business world, man, because then you're gonna see a real game. Okay,
Yeah.
you're gonna play with the big boys.
Yep.
But my old adage was, you will play as you practice. So
Yep.
bottom line is, you don't practice during the week. When it's come game time, you're gonna play just like that. So you
Yep.
better play harder in practice than you do in a game, because that's where it's all gonna shine. So it's like
Hmm.
Tiger Woods. Guy hits thousands of golf balls. If he only hit maybe 300, you think he'd be where he was, or where he was, before he got hurt and all that,
Right. Right.
back and stuff. So, talking about golf. So, um, uh, let's talk about, the last 24 months. I call it the roller coaster.
Yep.
Maybe 26 months, 27 now. But, back in, it was funny because I did one of my last CCRP events, my networking events. We were out in October. It snowed the earliest time in Denver. I think it was 6 or 7 inches. It was 85 degrees the day I flew in, and the next day, that night, it snowed in the middle of October. And we did the tour of the Rocky Stadium. They just finished baseball, and it's got 6 or 7 inches of snow on it. Anyway, uh, went through the holidays, did my summit, Jacksonville, and then I did a cocktail party in Florida down at Coconut Grove, and then boom, I'm in Milwaukee looking at hotels for my executive retreats, and then everything gets shut down. And it's only going to be a couple of weeks. Here we are, 27 months later, and we're still freaking talking about the stupid bug.
Yeah.
And all the things that people went through, and you being kind of in that, I think you're like a hybrid, because you're a broker for rooms, you deal with the hospitality gig, and so many hotels kind of, they didn't know what to do. Some shut down, some were under the radar getting things prepped. So when the economy did open, they were ready. New paint, new floor, FF&E, whatever it might be, and it really depended on what state you were in too. But now people are back on planes, and hopefully your flight doesn't get canceled.
Yeah.
Sorry to say that, guys, but it's the reality of it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and but with looking at what you went through when the country was booming, and then boom, it was just shut down, and then kind of opened up. Talk about that whole gig, as far as that went. What the company went through and how you dealt with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important probably to set the stage first. So Travelers Haven, prior to March of 2020, 95% of our associates were in office, in-house together, right? And one of those those memories that is just vivid, in your brain. I think it was March 14th. The leadership team was sitting in a room. To your point, hey, it might go away in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We weren't, it wasn't mandatory lockdown at that point, but we were looking around and said, all right, we need the safety of our people, right? Is what's most important. So we made the decision, let's go to remote. We had never done it, right? But we had to make that decision for our people. And from there, like overnight, right, we were forced to understand how to be a digital company. And I'm sure there's a lot of businesses out there that can relate to that. So immediately we had to go into action and understand it. And you talk about 27 months later, we're still talking about it and kind of what's happened on this roller coaster. And looking back, one of the key things or initiatives that we did as a leadership team and as a company, and not just the leadership team, but was the communication aspect. Like, we were all together, and it's very easy to have a conversation, walk by each other, but we had to figure out how to communicate in a remote environment, right? And essentially what that came down to is transparency. All right, what's going on in the world, how we're going to operate, how we're going to work together, setting up the infrastructure for that. And a theme that we had was, being in this hospitality and travel industry, as you can imagine, like, things stop very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Flights shut down. To your point, hotels, were at 10% occupancy. Like, the world just kind of froze. and we had to figure out how to still move forward. So we had we went into frankly somewhat of a survival mode that we had to do, and we did it through over communication and transparency. Now, at that time as well, obviously with this bug or pandemic, as you had mentioned, uh, one of our main industries outside of infrastructure and commercial is healthcare. So we had essential frontline workers that still had to do a job, right? And they were going right into the fire, so to speak. So we had to figure out how to still be operational in a remote world and be able to supply this lodging and housing for these healthcare workers. So it was communication, and it was transparency, and frankly some of the time where I worked or we worked the longest and hardest, but was really the most enjoyable at the same time. Like the teamwork and resiliency of the team that said, hey, like we are here working for these essential workers it's bigger than us, right? And we're going to put what's needed into that moment to ensure that they had, at the end of the day, after a long shift of working and seeing this face on, a place to come home and a place to call home and a place to stay.
Construction really depended on what state you're in, but it really didn't stop. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were in construction, you were still moving, whether you were driving or flying. And like here in Georgia, we didn't shut down, and
Yeah.
there were 3 or 4 projects that were building right down the road for me. They put this long-term care. There was another gas station that went up, and I forget what the other, but they were building, right through there.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff was, PPP on the site, and that kind of stuff. But the the biggest thing I heard over the last 24 months, because I asked the same questions on all these on these episodes, is that people that were able to be flexible and made that turn on a dime and went into that digital world. Like right now we're on Zoom. It's not going anywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
I know people say they hate Zoom, but let me tell you, instead of driving an hour and a half, you could do a 15-minute call and not burn gas or anything that you can do here. You can choose where you want to go face to face, but this is not going anywhere ever again. It's just here to stay. And so, looking at it, that depending on where you were, as well as if the project was outside, like your dad was a DOT guy. So if you were on a DOT project, that thing was rolling outside. If you were doing a plumbing thing and you were in a certain state that you couldn't be so feet apart, you probably had a problem getting that project done.
Yeah.
So, but there were so many construction companies that were deemed essential because of their portfolio, that really they just went in. And so many people that I talked to, they were like, man, we're more productive. I work out of my house. I don't have the water cooler gossip. We still kept our company culture. We're more productive. And now, some people have gone back, some people have gone hybrid, some are still remote. Ownership has to decide, if they're going to keep their office space or if they're going to, downsize. So because a lot of people that they don't want to go back to the office, they want to go see the Avalanche, they want to go see the Rockies, they want to go see golf tournaments, they want to go to rock concerts, they want to go skiing, but they want to go back to the office. They want to stay home and work. So this is the battle as an owner, if you have leases or et cetera, that what are you going to do? And what was funny is I was a million miler, in Delta. I still am, but I hadn't traveled like in 2 years. So I went up, when was it? What was it last summer? Maybe it was August of 2020. I drove up to Ohio for my sister's 60th birthday. So I'm giving your birthday. So anyway, I hadn't traveled. So I drove up with my son, and we stayed at Hilton Garden Inn, brand new, between Cincy and Dayton. Anyway, they had the bulletproof glass at the front, where you register, and so I do it, and then I go in, and there's sanitized on the door handle and on the toilet. They made you feel safe, at least. But it was amazing that all these little things that I didn't really experience since I had, because my last trip was March of 2020, and then I kind of was just working out of the house. But I too had to do the same thing you did. I mean, I was print face to face, and overnight I had a digital magazine, thank God, for years. So I had it. I just ignored it. But pretty much we had to become digital overnight, and and the biggest thing with us is that if you didn't have a Gmail or a cell phone, man, you were in business development, you were going to have a very tough time, because people did not want to pick up that phone and say, hey, all those projects, they're on hold, or they're getting pushed back, or I'm
Yeah.
going to make your payment terms 180. I know they were 30, or your emails were just, delete, delete, the phone. I'm not picking up that phone, and I used to buy, I've had my last issue, I printed March, April, my printer. I'm like, half my circulation is furloughed or the offices are closed. Why do I want to print and mail this thing?
Yeah.
Let's cut it down. David's economies of scale. So I bit the bullet and paint, I printed it. And then I sat back in April. And, we're a small staff. And so we just decided that we had a powwow, and we're like, okay, we'll go digital. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And and it's been a blessing in disguise. I don't miss the post office. I don't miss printing the magazine. I have more people than ever, looking at it online. I mean, I had 28 million people hit my website last year, consuming content. And, I dig the digital gig. I miss my friends, seeing them in person.
Yeah.
And so there's certain events that I did that I'm bringing back. And but all the people that I talked to, the biggest thing was, how am I going to keep my company culture, and how am I going to, get things done? And the ones that were nimble and flexible were the people that were successful. And
Yeah.
now some of these people said, God, I've had the best years ever.
Yep.
The only thing I can't do is I can't find PMs or superintendents right now to take on more business. That's the biggest gig right now.
Yeah.
It's not, some people are turning business away because they don't want to take it on, because they might not be able to have the staff or the labor to, to staff that job. So, which is an unbelievable thing. Better
Yeah.
busy to be not. But, the hoteliers that I talked to, the hotel hospitality got really, really crushed during that
Yeah.
time. I mean, some of my board members, they were telling me, a guy, I just had to lay off 30,000 people, and whether they were, management or general managers, or, housekeeping, whatever. And it was heartbreaking, but things have come back.
Yeah.
And, some of the hotels are, they're redone. Like I said, a lot of the smart hoteliers, they were underneath the radar. They might have been shut down or a capacity, but they were able to put in new carpet, new furniture, paint, upgrades, whatever they needed on the PPP side of things to keep things, safe. And so it was, I always look at the glass half full, not half empty. So, a lot of positive came out of a negative. And
Yeah.
it's always nice we can turn a negative into a positive. And
Yeah.
that's what your company did, along with engineers, architects, contractors, brands. They all did it, in that survival mode. And now, it's kind of like, God, here we are. What else can I do, to improve things, So
Yeah.
it was an amazing 24 months. I mean, I learned more about my business, during that time than I ever did before. And and I learned something new every day. So it was an amazing, amazing gig. But yeah, God, I was going to go to, I was on my way. I had tickets to go see DU play Ohio State in the Horseshoe in Columbus that weekend, and everything got canceled. I was up in Milwaukee. The NCAA got canceled. Tom Hanks got the bug, and I was like, oh man, I was going to Columbus to see the Pios play, and they got spanked by the Buckeyes the year before, so it was a good revenge game, and they had a good squad, and but oh well, but it was it was really interesting. Look, I've gone through so many cycles in my
Yeah.
publishing 25. I went to the internet boom, the crash in '08, and little things here and there, but then this was just something that I never experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you made three interesting points there, right? The construction infrastructure world was deemed essential, right? So things still had to move on. Labor shortage, right? Difficulties of getting labor where you need it, and then things coming back, right? With your example of the hotel, maybe they had to repaint or right, put in new flooring, bring things back to life, and uh, we're happy to be a part of that, right? The unique thing about Travelers Haven is that it's a housing on demand model. So, right, it is lodging and it's a place to stay at the end of the day. But it can go anywhere or anywhere in the U.S. and can be customized to how the crews need it, right? So if you got a crew doing right a job in rural town Oklahoma to major metro like New York, right, we have the ability to supply right that housing for those crews. And it was interesting. We started in healthcare and we found a very kind of like magical fit with the commercial construction infrastructure side, where it was right crews or individuals going on temporary assignments, and at the end of the day, they needed affordable accommodations that were enjoyable at the end of the day, right? I think prior to us, a lot of the companies we've talked to were in ESAs, were in hotels, right? Where you're in a 300 square foot accommodation, and if you're there for weeks or months on end, you're gonna get the cabin fever, right? It's gonna get a little tight. So we're like at the end of the day, we're able to provide that housing that allows right those crews to focus on what they need to do, whether it's healthcare, infrastructure, and at the end of the day, put out a better product and be able to enjoy that assignment much more than right than maybe before. So interesting points you're making there.
What was the biggest thing that your lesson learned that you think that was over that 24-month roller coaster, or 27 months, you can call it what you want?
Um, I think taking a step outside of our business, I think it's that essential worker and that feeling or the connection we've had over, especially right when it hit, but still 27 months later. Um, like helping healthcare workers or infrastructure, like bringing the infrastructure and the construction, whether it's an apartment, whether it's remodeling, but really building and helping these workers enable and create and kind of move that society together. I think the lesson there is that we're connected to something a heck of a lot bigger than on-demand housing, and really enabling these workers to focus on what's most important, which right at that time is their work and being able to help it. I mean, the stories that we've got, especially right after COVID, when that started, right, of whether it was healthcare, commercial infrastructure, just the ability to have a place to stay. To your point, you checked into a hotel and there was so many restrictions, right? Rightfully so, but to be able to give them that stay that they felt comfortable in was a piece for them to be able to essentially do their work, do it effectively, and really help society move forward.
Awesome. Um, Moving forward, are you bullish or bearish? As we end Q3, Q4, and looking into 2023, and some of your clients that you're dealing with.
Yeah, I think if you ask that question for a company, I say bullish, and we're fortunate enough to be diverse and help these essential workers. So I don't think that's going anywhere. I think there's a lot of there's question marks if you go to a macro level, but at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. The housing shortage, the construction, the infrastructure bill, right? That's kind of looming out there. I think that really opens some doors and opportunities for us as we move forward over the next 6 to 18 months.
If you were going to leave one positive thought or phrase, as a sports guy,
Yeah.
what would that be?
Yeah. Housing is a critical part of those projects, and to be able to give the crews a nice place to stay at the end of the day, to let them focus right on what they do best to enable society. It's an important aspect. We talk about the biggest stressors in our life, and and housing or your living situation is one of those top fours. So the ability to provide right those crews and those workers the safe haven for their stay, is a critical part of the success of the job at the end of the day.
Hey, as an athlete, when we used to travel, we stayed in dumps, we stayed in nice hotels, but
Yeah,
after, if you go on a long road trip and you're staying, someplace safe where you can replenish your body and so forth, it's just much more of an enjoyable thing than going in and
yeah,
like you said, that connection there. Hey man, I'm helping you. We
yeah,
help these guys. They did a good job because they were staying at a cool place,
yeah,
and it was, a budget item, and they got the job done on time, and so you can say that you helped their psyche. So that's a very
yeah,
cool thing.
yeah.
It's like being the equipment manager or the travel coordinator.
Right.
Hey man, I should get a ring too because I did all that stuff. If I was on the Avalanche, when DU won the national championship for lacrosse, first time ever, a West Coast team won the national championship. I flew out. I went to played in the alumni game, and we went to the dinner. I had my son with me, and they gave rings to everybody. You could have been the assistant janitor, you know, or whatever. If you had anything to do with that team, you got a ring. And the most important thing that Coach Tierney said, he goes, "Hey, everybody helped us get in there." One of the coolest thing is on all the tables, he had all the old pictures from DU played and started 1966, I think, lacrosse. So they've been playing for 50 years. Anyway, he said, "You know what? You see all these guys that are on these tables and these pictures. Like I didn't have my picture on there, but I was there in the '80s, so
Yeah,
40 years ago." He said those guys never got a ring, but without them, you wouldn't be here getting those rings. So that's where
yeah,
your thanks should go, and it goes to all the people that helped you. That's why everybody that worked on this team this year, they all got a ring. That was one of the coolest things that I heard from just and Coach here. He's a Hall of Fame coach.
yeah,
So anyway, it was a really really cool thing. So being a team player and making sure it doesn't matter who's on your staff, they're all important, and
yeah,
getting that recognition that they did a good job, it'll go so far. So,
yeah.
uh,
Well,
point,
and there's two things there, right? You loop that back around to the sports lessons. 1 + 1 = 3. Like power in numbers, teamwork gets you further, and it's every to your point, it's everybody's contribution which creates the product and at the end of the day. And it sounds like a simple thank you right from the coach. And if there's one additional kind of parting phrase I could leave with, it's a thank you to the essential workers. Before, during, and after, right? This whole 27-month roller coaster that we've been on, as you like to phrase it. At the end of the day, the thanks goes to them, and we're fortunate enough just to have a very small piece to help them with that.
if someone wanted to get in touch with with you or your brand, how would they connect with you?
Yeah, easiest way is go to travelershaven.com as our website. Also, feel free to email simply just sales@travelershaven.com, and we'll ensure that we'll get you taken care of.
So listen, commercial construction coffee talk fans out there, we know you're all busy. You got, listen, everybody's trying to get their stores done before Thanksgiving, because all the money's made between there and Christmas. So we know the fall's coming up. So if you think that your hotel budget on your budget line's a little too high, give Troy a jingle. They'd love to, run some numbers for you. And, when the bottom line is you got 50, 60 projects going on, or if you got a long stay or whatever, hey, it all adds up. If you can save a few pennies each day, the sum is always bigger than the whole. And at the end of the day, you can look like a hero because you made a couple phone calls, you had a conversation with someone. Because if you're going on the road, you're going to have to stay someplace. So, you might as well, enjoy it and see if you can save a few pennies. So, anyway, Troy, pleasure speaking with a Denverite. It was, listen, it's like my second city. We were talking before we got on. So we were talking about the boom from when I was there to when it is now. You wouldn't even recognize the place. But Mile High City, great place. And It offers, like I said, I like the summer, because you can camp, you can ski, you can, fish, you do a lot. Even the glacier's still there. You can do a little skiing too. So
That's right.
So with that said, everybody, it's almost the end of August coming up. You got Labor Day coming up, and then Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. Boom, we're gonna close this book on 2022 and go into 2023. Lots of happening every day, business, politically. It's mentally draining. Every day I gotta get some Z's because I am so drained to hear and know what the heck's gonna happen, and so forth. So enjoy the weekend out there, because it's Friday today, and recharge your batteries, don't work, have fun with your family, and then jam right through to the Labor Day weekend, and then boom, before you know it, it's going to be the holidays, and end the year off on a positive note and going with momentum into 2023. And once again, if you're out there on a construction site, make sure you're drinking lots of water and be safe. That's the most important thing. So Troy, thank you so much, and say goodbye out in Denver to all our fans out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Yeah, David, it was a pleasure, and thanks for all the listeners. I had a blast. Appreciate your time.
And I'm going to say, by the way, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'm at davidc.ccr-mag.com. Always looking for content, got cool projects, whatever. I always say that if you don't buy a ticket for the lottery, you can't win it. If you don't send me something, I can't publish it. So, and we'll find a place for it someplace digitally. So anyway, everybody, we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. And Troy, I'll give you a ring because I'm coming out there in October for our reception with the RCA. And we'll no fist pumps. We'll shake hands. Okay.
All right, I look forward to it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend. See you, Troy.
See you, Dave.